biblical foreknowledge. The reason I'm doing these is there's people out there that we need to reach that don't even believe that there is a God. And they don't believe the Bible is inspired. They believe it's just a book. I have a guy that I worked with, and he once said, who says, they can just get intoxicated and sit around a table and come up with all these crazy stories. And it's just three guys just sitting around came up with it. I told him, because it's inspired. I didn't, at that time, I wasn't prepared enough. Now, through preparing these lessons, I do feel prepared enough to go back to them with more evidence to show how it's inspired. So this morning I'm going to start out with a story. Back in 1847, a man by the name of Ignace Semmelweis was in Vienna, Australia to study medicine. He did real well and became the director of Division I Vienna unit at the Vienna Hospital. They were responsible for delivering babies. It was split into Divisions 1 and Division 2. In Division 2, midwives delivered the babies, and there was a death rate of about 3%. Division 1, the most educated doctors in the world delivered babies, and there was a death rate of about 18% in the winter, and got up to 50% in the summer times. Ignace was watching as 1 out of 6 women died in his clinic. He couldn't stand the death of the women, so he set out to figure out how to get the death rate down. He started experimenting. He tried changing the position the women were in while giving birth. Then also there was a priest who came in late at night and rang the bell. So he stopped the bell ringing, thinking maybe it was scaring him. But nothing he was trying helped. The other doctors said it was just a dark cloud of evil that hovered over them. But Ignace was not satisfied with that answer. When he checked the other clinics around the world, they had about the same death rate, 18%, sometimes about up to 50% in the summer. This bothered him so much that it just bit at him. He could not figure out what was wrong. He finally just had to take a break. He left out to take a trip for himself. While he was gone, one of his doctor friends was performing an autopsy on the body of a dead woman in front of a class of some first-year students. One of the students that was helping the doctor accidentally bumped into him and caused him to get a scratch while he was performing this autopsy. It wasn't a big scratch, nothing that would make him think he was going to die from it, just a little minor scratch. 2 weeks later, that doctor died from, they didn't know what to call it. Because it was all the same symptoms as what these women had while they were dying while giving birth. For the women, they just called it labor fever. They didn't know what to call it. When Ignace returned from his trip, they informed him of the news. So one day, Ignace went to his clinic and he saw these students doing autopsies on these dead women, then washing their hands on the same water. With no soap, no cleaning agent, just plain water. Then all drying their hands on the same towel. Can you imagine? Over time, that towel would probably get kind of nasty. Nowadays, we know exactly what's wrong. They had germs. Back then, they didn't know that. He made the people in his clinic start washing their hands with soap and all drying their own clean towels before ever touching the woman. Death rate plummeted to 1%, sometimes 0%. You would think such a fine would be used by the world and they would be excited. Oh, we found out how to save these women. But no. Instead, they fired him, sent him to a smaller clinic, called him a clean freak, and said that he was just going overboard with that. So he spent the rest of his life in that smaller clinic that he went to. The death rate dropped to 1%, sometimes 0%. He spent the rest of his life writing of his discovery and sent them to clinics all around the world. But people still did not want to listen to him. Now that was in 1847. Now we'll go back to the scripture reading in Numbers chapter 19, verse 11. Let's read that again. 11 to 13. He that toucheth the dead body of any man shall be unclean 7 days. He shall purify himself with it on the 3rd day, and on the 7th day he shall be clean. But if he purify not himself the 3rd day, then the 7th day he shall not be clean. Whosoever toucheth the dead body of any man that is dead, and purifieth not himself, defileth the tabernacle of the Lord. And that soul shall be cut off from Israel, because the water of separation was not sprinkled upon him. He shall be unclean. His uncleanness is yet upon him. If this method was used back in 1847, it would have saved so many lives. So obviously, they had no clue about germs going from a dead body to a live body. Now let's look in verse 2, Numbers 19. This is the ordinance of the law which the Lord hath commanded, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, that they bring thee a red heifer without spot, wherein is no blemish, and upon which never came guilt. Let's jump to verse 5. And one shall burn the heifer in his side, her skin and her flesh and her blood with her dung shall be burned. And the priest shall take cedar wood and hyssop and scarlet, and cast it to the midst of the burning of the heifer. We'll jump down to verse 9. And a man that is clean shall gather up the ashes of the heifer, and lay them up without the camp, outside the camp, in a clean place. And it shall be kept for the congregation of the children of Israel, for the water of separation is purification for sin. Now what is it? It sounds like just a crazy texture. What we got here? We got a red heifer, we got some hyssop, cedar wood, scarlet. What kind of mixture are we making here? When we look into it, it's making a high concentrate of lye. Or a lye soap. Tell them how to make soap. Now hyssop is also put in the fire as well. Well, it just so happens that hyssop is the germ-killing agent, or has the germ-killing agent, thymine. You look at your mouthwash, most mouthwashes have thymine in it. It's for killing bacteria. Then another ingredient put into this fire is wool. This burnt wool put a gritty texture in the soap. I remember growing up, we had working on the car, or doing just dirty work and grease and oil and everything. Some of the best soaps to use is the Gojo or the Fast Orange type of soap. It has a real gritty texture to it. Because it gets a good deep cleaning on your hands. That's what this wool was doing, as you burnt the little particles. It made you have to really scrub to get it off of there. It did a good deep cleaning. It was a great addition to the soap. Also, bacteria takes a moist climate. So we have this perfect soap recipe to use on day 3. And then we have 3 days before the 7th day where we reapply. So you have 3 days for it to dry. And then you're not supposed to touch somebody after the 7th day, after you reapply. So what do we have here in Numbers 19? We have a perfect soap recipe for the water purification, a perfect prescription on how to apply that water purification. 3,000 years before Eden's ever came to sin. Is this just another accident? Or a lucky guess? We've got 3 more things. 3 last things this morning will have to do with God's food consumption laws. in Leviticus 11, if you will turn there. Leviticus 11, we're going to start with verse 1. We'll read 37. And the Lord spake unto Moses and unto Aaron, saying to them, Speak unto the children of Israel, saying, These are the beasts which ye shall eat amongst all the beasts that are on the earth. Whatsoever parteth the hoof, and is cloven footed, and cheweth the cud, among the beasts, that shall ye eat. Nevertheless, these shall ye not eat of them that chew the cud, or of them that divide the hoof, as the camel, because he cheweth the cud, but divideth not the hoof. He is unclean unto you. And the coney, because he cheweth the cud, but divideth not the hoof, he is unclean unto you. And the hare, because he cheweth the cud, but divideth not the hoof, he is unclean unto you. And the swine, though he divide the hoof, and be cloven-footed, yet he cheweth not the cud, he is unclean to you. So off the top of my head, I can't say why they couldn't eat the coney, which is a rock badger, or the hare. But the swine is a little more familiar to us. So what's particular about pork? Mama stressed it to me through the years. I like to cook, but she wanted me to make sure that I cook the pork very well to a certain temperature.